We're ready to go.
All right, we'll call the highway September 11th meeting to order. Roll call. Everyone's there. Approval of minutes for the August 14th. Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion? Any corrections? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Nothing for me on the staff reports. Dustin.
You see that, Randy?
Yep.
Well, today's agenda, highway shop operations, equipment updates, engineering project updates, the highway shop addition discussion. We'll go into the highway financials and then some consideration for actions. I'll let Brent and Dan take over for around the shop and in the field on what we're doing.
All right, well, currently today we are working on County Road Double B up by Ridgeland, north of 64. We are gonna be paving today and tomorrow on half of it. We are adding rock to the other half. It was a little sandy, so we're adding rock to that half just to improve the roadway. And hoping we can pave the other half of that next week. We're also, we have finished County Road Z down by O'Galley. For the most part, they have to line it and stripe it and all that stuff. And that's supposed to be end of the week this week or next week. Correct, Isaac, right? Yep. All the paving and shouldering and everything is done there. We shouldered up on County Road M. That one is complete besides the painting. Town of Sheridan. We were up there and did all their shouldering for them. We're also working on some spray patching for some townships right now. And some state work, DMA projects, culvert lining, culvert replacement. Yesterday we went in and poured a floor. They plan on replacing that culvert in the next 10 years. So instead of putting a whole new culvert in, they just had us go in there and pour a concrete floor in the bottom. And also some wing walls and walls at the end. We just poured a whole new floor in it. So that was a little quicker work and a little cheaper to do it that way. That's why they wanted us to do it that way. Let's see what else we got up here. We are in the process of, we mowed, we did spray earlier this year and we had to mow with all the rain. So we're in the process of finishing up mowing. I'd say the only corner that we really have left in the county is down by O'Galley. And as I'm looking over, started mowing on that yesterday. Yep. So they were down there yesterday. Pretty much everywhere else in the county has been mowed, at least one pass. And then in mid-October, we can start mowing on the state again and doing some brushing, stuff like that. We have plenty of work left to do. We've got some culverts to replace, some ditching to do, some in township, some on county work, and some on the state. So we have plenty of work before the snow flies to do yet. Guys are busy. We've had some late days this week and early morning and late days for paving and prepping for County Road Double B, trying to get that done. Any questions?
How long did that take for County Z, was that like a 3-year period? Considering
County Z. Yeah.
they said it like a 3 years or
Yep, 3 payments. And I think it turned out pretty good. Everyone down there seemed very, very happy. Except for everyone driving it, except for everyone driving faster. They don't like that part of it, but the road is fixed. So. Else, nothing to add.
Nope.
Knock on wood, all the trucks are running. We've got about every truck out we can. Even using tandems to haul rock. For our job, normally we just use the quads and the tries as much as we can, but we added a couple tandems on today. So, and we are utilizing 2 city trucks. To help us out to get enough trucks. For paving and prepping, so. City's helping out today and tomorrow for sure.
you gotta pay them every time or just kind of back and forth? If they're a little short, you help them out or they're kind of.
We do pay them. They send us an invoice, we send them an invoice, we go back and forth.
Okay.
And we have done that for some other counties too. You know, they come chip seal for us and we go haul asphalt for another county if they're ever short help. Well, it ain't very often, but every now and then. Not that they're short help, just short trucks. So. Any other questions? All right, man, moving to hills.
Well, like Brent had said, we got pretty much every truck out right now that we have, with 2 tandems, so there's 22 haul trucks out today. With the supply trucks and trailers and stuff, we have over 300 tires out there just in that project today, so. And see, everything's going great so far, and that's good. Yeah, that's a lot of tires. All of the last of our winter plow blades have arrived. So we got a full order for that, so we should be good to go for when it snows. And again, we're doing normal maintenance. And when we do normal maintenance on our trucks, change oil and stuff on them, we take an oil sample of them and send them into CAP. Costs about a little less than $10 for each oil sample, and if there's something wrong, we can kind of get a jump on it early and save on things. And we did get an oil sample back from our number 5 966 5-yard loader that it had fuel in the oil, and we're currently working on that right now. So hopefully we'll find that problem and it would have caught it early, so we don't have any major engine issues. Our new hire for replacing Al, Corey Anderson, who started on the 3rd. Doing a real good job. Him and Tony both are working on the 2 new plow trucks. We got 1 in the shop and it's coming together. We did receive all of the equipment for it, the both of them. So we're good to go. And it looks like the other trucks, the other 4 that are left, a couple of them are here now or to be soon, and then the other 2 are getting built next month. So the trucks are gonna finally get here. Now we just gotta get the equipment on them. What else we got here? All the winter readiness, we gotta start that pretty soon, and that's where we bring in our state plow trucks. We calibrate the Sanders, so we're putting out the correct pounds per lane. And then we have to go through and they have a checklist where they want certain things, you know, the conspicuously tape and, you know, reflectors and everything else, you know, on the controllers have to move, right? So, and I think we get what, a little over 3,000 a year for doing that, but they give us basically because those trucks are sitting around all summer, and it does have, you know, not that they're sitting all summer, but a lot. Some of it with the cost of those. Yeah, other than that, I guess a little tidbit of information of this August, we used 14,964 gallons of fuel. Last August, we used 18,184 gallons of fuel. So we used about 3,200 gallons less this August, which is good. Calculates out about $9,000 less fuel costs than the prior year. Just a little information. And I credit that a lot to some of the newer trucks and stuff like that, you know, they're better on fuel. And we've been pushing hard to get the guys to try to shut them off and then don't need stuff either. I think some of that's not good for them two ways. It's not good for them two ways. Plugs the filters up, you know, sitting there. So even on your pickup truck, so plug your converters. The whole 9 yards. So, yeah, basically it's been pretty quiet and we're working on some winter stuff and I'll be long, it'll be here. Yeah, that's the picture of the new one that's out there right now. We got it, getting the box set on it and the headache rack and everything welded on it. And then we can take it down to Universal and have them paint it. And then bring it back. And I'm gonna try to just send the box down because of the time it takes for them to get things done. You know, if we can send the box down there and it sits down there for 3 weeks, that's not a problem because we still have a lot of other work on the truck. So when the box comes back, you know, the truck will be pretty much done. It's what we're gonna try and do. The underbody is on it. He's working on the wing mount right now. Front plow mount is partially on it. The pedestal in the cab is partially mounted, but there's a lot of work yet. The valve bank is mounted. There's a lot of electrical and a lot of hydraulic lines have to be run yet. You know, and a lot of other little things, but it's coming. You know,
You just make all of them yourself, right? The hydraulic hose and stuff?
yeah, you know, all the hoses and fittings, you know, we supply the fittings and the hose, and that's not part of the package deal, you know, because you couldn't. I mean,
No,
everything would be different. And we are planning to put a hitch on this one, so we can start utilizing these more in the summertime. Also, got a couple of them like that now.
So do you have a lot of, holes that are already drilled in them?
No,
Or you have to do all your own drilling?
yes, you know, we gotta drill them all. Yeah, there's nothing pre-drilled.
Hmm.
Everything is, has to be drilled. We do have a magnetic drill and also a threading drill. Not that it's a lot, but it's still a lot of drilling. Wouldn't want to go after it with a hand drill. Be worn on it, so. But yeah, these should be really nice trucks when they're done. And forward to getting them done. So getting on the road because we can use the trucks. That's, and you're welcome to come back and look if you want to look at it, or whatever you want to look at anytime. So. Yeah, that's about all I got.
And like Dan mentioned, we have 4 trucks that are basically, 2 of them are en route, 1 or 2 of them are also in not fabrication, but in production next month. I believe one of them is in
It is. In
Eau Claire,
Yeah.
getting delivered to Universal. Talked to Universal, who is still honoring their 2023 contract, for 2 of the trucks. So we will be taking 2 trucks down there. They will not get fabricated until next year. There's approximately 50 trucks ahead of us right now. In 120 days, what they say for each truck typically. So, like I said, it's gonna be a process. We're gonna have 2 chassis sitting down in, basically Galesville by Universal for, I had to guess, probably the next 6 months. So that's why we tried to take 2 on ourselves, and so we can actually get them in the door and out on the road as soon as possible. And I guess just to give you a reason why this box is gray. Our intent was to actually take these 2 boxes and switch them on our 2 4-lane state trucks that we currently have. They have live bottom boxes, so that means they have augers in it to basically conveyor the stuff out. But due to laying up 4 trucks potentially instead of 2, so we elected to basically just put these boxes on these trucks and not switch them all with the 4-lane trucks currently. We will be doing that with the 2 trucks that are gonna get built in October, when we can lay up those trucks after this winter, so.
That way we won't get in trouble as far as not having the trucks, because we need the trucks. It makes no sense. This will work out just fine. It doesn't really change a lot of things.
Yep.
So,
But yeah, like I said, we'll have 4 chassis sitting with nothing put on them. For after this winter at least.
but 2 of them, like Dustin said, we're planning on making those into the interstate trucks and putting that stainless square box on them. You know, planning on doing exactly what we were gonna do with these, it's just that the timeframe just isn't. You know, we just don't want to get in trouble and have, sitting here and.
Not enough trucks.
Because we're kind of short on trucks right now. And we have. I think we have, 28 plow trucks, I believe, right now that we use. And I think we have 5 of those spares that are just sitting prices. Well, I should say, we have 2. But we're gonna be using every truck we have, so.
So when you order like a new truck, and you call ahead to talk to Universal and say, hey, like we got 2 trucks coming in 6 months to get ahead, or there's no way that you don't know, it might be late or.
They don't schedule that truck until it's in their yard. Then they will put it on their schedule.
That's where the problem comes in.
Just gotta wait till.
First come, first serve.
But once the truck hits the yard, then they put it in the schedule, order the equipment and stuff for it. So that's why it sits there so long. It's their policy, and I don't know how we could get around it, you know, unless you would pay it for it before they found it or something. I don't know if they would even go for that. But
Was that the only place in Wisconsin that does that kind of stuff?
there's more.
Well, there's more.
We've had such a good experience with them, and their workmanship is really great. You know, and they know what we want, you know, and the working relationship with them is really good. And they have a real good quality product. That falls kind of back on the uniform too, you know, we're getting the same equipment that one got their trucks,
Built the same.
built the same, you know, and then you have to stock less parts. I mean, you're like hydraulic cylinders and all that, oodles of parts. But it's nice to be able to only stock one that'll cover 4 or 5 trucks more.
But do they make like, just one for all the trucks, or the different trucks that come in for different uses that also? Like maybe for hauling grain or whatever,
Yeah, they do that too.
you do that too then.
A lot of it's customized, like what that
Okay.
individual wants.
Whatever, that's it, they'll put on. I mean, they do a lot of plow trucks for a lot of different companies.
So do they custom fab a lot of stuff? Like I'm saying, like, say you want a chip box or grain box, or do they just order that and put it on?
The boxes they order, but after that, I mean, they make their own snow plows, their own underbodies, their own sanders, their own wings. I mean, and they've got a big brake there to bend the curvature in them and everything. So all the hydraulic controls, and the electrical part, those are done by Force America, and pretty much Force America has the state. Their controllers. And they're already programmed in there for the state, so they can watch what we're doing too, as far as how much material we're putting down, and that goes in part with that winter readiness, because you have to have that in order to get that. It doesn't have to be Force of America controller, but it has to be one that will do that. And Force of America controllers work pretty good for that.
So I was curious, how's that calibration work? Just
So yeah,
like what's it?
and we have a scale. So on the back sander part, there's an auger sensor that tells how many revolutions that auger makes.
Mhm.
And then you can calculate that out, you know, how many revolutions is how much material. And then from there on, then the speed sensor in it too. So when the truck is going, then you know, it sets that rate then for whatever speed you're going.
Yep.
You just have to mainly know the revolutions of the auger and how much material it's putting out. And that's what we do with the scale, and then you change the speed of the auger, say that we want 100 pounds per lane mile, and that changes the speed of the auger. So we adjust that in the controller, actually digitally. You put in the mins and the maxes on it.
So it goes off your speed, your wheel speed sensor or something like
There,
that.
the only two things it really goes off of is a wheel speed. We order an extra sensor right from when we get the trucks. So, so it's not tied into the truck's computer.
Okay,
Because sometimes you get.
Yep.
So there is an extra speed sensor
okay,
for just that controller. You know, that's what controls it along with the auger sensor. Those two things control the amount of material that's put on the road. And then the operator just sets it in there what he wants. You know, if he wants 100 pounds per lane, 2, 3, 4. And then it automatically adjusts the speed of the auger to put that much material down.
Yep.
Once it's calibrated. Right?
Yep.
You know, and they can just push the button and it does it all automatically.
and then the state knows how much you're putting down.
They know how much you're putting down because they can see it. You know, they can see where the plow is up and down and how fast you're going.
And they advise you too, I mean, like on the weather. On our,
Yeah.
on our MDSS, it'll tell you 300 pounds per lane mile from 3 AM to 5 AM.
Yeah.
They advise you and sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes we're lighter, sometimes we gotta be heavier.
And that's the same way with the brine systems too. We have to calibrate those because they give you that same kind of recommendation. How much brine to put with the salt, or, you know, how much salt you put with the brine, and you know, so it's kind of a complicated setup, and it's all computerized, which is.
That's why Mickey Hayden running down interstate, spreading brine out when there's no storm or anything. Cause they probably said
They wanted
The pre-wet.
pretty wet
And that does help some in certain circumstances,
bridges.
especially bridges, the bridge decks, but they freeze.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. It was one of those things and it's like, there wasn't anything by us, but apparently the state said, hey, you need to go out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got behind him and I was not very happy.
Yeah, it's, you get a lot of people, when we started doing that, a lot of people go, what are you guys putting on the road? Why are you doing that? It's turning white, it's. That's what they wanted and they're going to that. We're not always in agreement with it, but we had to at least try it. You know,
Well, I think
and we are,
I think
it
actually
does work.
It helps keep from stuff sticking to the road. I was more talking about the time when like
Right.
nothing was coming and it's like, but yeah, no, I think it works.
Yep.
In the right application.
In the right times.
It does reduce salt usage, and that's what they're looking. Because
I know our truck that we had, that last truck we built down in Old Galley, on those state roads, you could totally see the reduction big time in his salt usage. When they're working right and everything is.
Well, breaks it up faster, it seems like.
It does
Like
instantly.
it doesn't get that chance to pack down where they're trying to break it up.
it's activating right away.
Yeah, you get it from both sides.
And what's nice about it too is that, you know, with that brine on there too, it helps it stick into the road better, you know, so the traffic won't blow it right off. And it also sinks into, you know, the snow or the ice or whatever, you know, quicker. You know, so there's a lot of pluses to it. But it also another added expense for us. You know, it's expensive, the brine systems are expensive.
And I'm sure they heard of stuff.
They don't pay much more.
The problem is the state isn't paying us. You know, for the amount that we're investing in this equipment and trucks and stuff. They're pretty slow on changing the rates. For all of these.
And they have compensation.
Yeah, kind of like that. They don't tell you you have to have it. I don't think, and I've never heard of it. They had to say exactly what you have to have. That's what they want, though. The bigger brine tanks you have on it, the more money per hour. Yeah. But yeah, and then like I said, the computer systems, you know, if the truck slows down, it slows down. If you pull to a stop sign, it stops.
Yes.
You know, fairly close. But they also have we let our operators also have the option of running manually.
Yeah, you get a spot where you need a little heavier, but
Yeah.
Sections.
So, yeah. That's all I've got. You guys got anything? Questions?
Those trucks that you're working on now, will they be done like for like winter or?
Yeah.
Oh, they will, okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Like,
Yeah,
why do I have to pull them off to go fix something else?
that's the thing, we're trying to keep on working on
They are-
those. And
Working diligently on them, but things break down and just pull them off.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
no, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And gals. Yeah, thanks. Damn it.
You having a good time sitting back here waiting?
Yes, learning a lot. I just, wondering how all this gets paid.
State base.
With the truck and getting them ready. Is that included in the price? That fabric, is it called a fabrication? Is that included in the price?
Yep.
Have you heard any more about our last meeting? Like the budget and that, anything more of the highway, because there's a lot of different guesses of what would be the best way to balance the budget. Have you heard any more about that since that last meeting, or has it all been pretty quiet?
Yeah. They know nothing about it,
Yeah.
yes. But I'll tune in sometime.
Yes. More to come.
I'll learn when you learn. So,
You I thought you were keeping track of the time. I thought you'd probably know exactly what's going on.
no. But yeah, we'll continue through this, I guess. Just give you some engineering project updates. So our County Road B project from 29 to I-94, obviously the main line has been poured. The contractor continues to work on the intersections. Obviously you can only pave half of the intersections at a time, so businesses can't be affected by it. Obviously Walmart needs to get in and out, Lindstrom's, they all need to get in to their business. So they're anticipating that to be basically completed by October 3rd is the next staging completion to basically open the northbound and southbound lanes up. That doesn't mean the projects will be finalized. There will be restoration work and signals and lighting and all that other good stuff.
So that in the middle, is that gonna be cement or be dirt in the middle between the two?
That'll be curb and gutter where you see the two lanes that are
Okay.
coming together. But majority of it will be dirt,
Okay.
median, like a raised dirt median.
Mhm.
But yeah, everything's going pretty well. They've had some really good weather lately, but it's just slow going with the staging at those intersections. The County Road B project from I-94 to Packard Drive, everything's been completed on that. I should say everything. They're looking at paving the southbound lane this week. They're cutting and prepping for that. The intersection at 628th, which is on the Senex side, that they paved yesterday, the asphalt pavement. So that'll be a lot nicer getting in and out of there, because right now it was like a one lane road going in and out. Now we can actually get multiple lanes in there.
There's somebody sitting there waiting to turn this morning, even though it's 2 lanes, but it's too tight, so you can still sit here and blocking traffic, go the dump truck out of there.
Yeah, it's a
Much
cluster.
nicer than that's-
There is some coordination, obviously with the railroad signals and the traffic signals. So late September here, they're looking at installing the traffic signals at the Badger Drive, which is the Senex Loves intersection, what we always call it. We will have to, and I will make an announcement, we will have to shut County Road B down October 1st and October 2nd, so we can make that coordination between the signal lights and the railroad signals. There will be a lot of testing to make sure everything's working properly. They will make sure their lighting's visible and facing the right directions. So we will make some people upset that October 1st and 2nd, we will be shut down again for we're anticipating a day and a half. The railroad has requested that just for safety and less confusion, so we thought it was probably a good idea.
So that whole intersection you're saying,
Yes.
so we should.
No, basically from the railroad tracks north.
Oh.
Yeah, so that intersection will remain open, but we will just shut it down from the railroad tracks to Packer Drive, basically again. So anticipate that. We do have one conflict that I'm sure you'll see is the overhead line. Excel's overhead line actually falls directly in line with one of the street lights. So there's some coordination going there with the possibility of Excel having to relocate their line once again. They did it once before, now they may have to do it again. So it's a lot of those things that you kind of overlook on a plan. Really look at that, how that's gonna affect it. But that is at their cost to complete that work. I'll let Isaac explain this stuff a little bit more detail, just on our projects, what's happening.
Yeah, on County Road Z project, Brent hit on that, but the last phase of that project was paved 2 weeks ago and then shouldering done last week. There's a little bit of black dirt on the south end of the project that needs to be filled in behind the asphalt curb, and then pavement markings, and that project should be wrapped up. County Road BV, double V, which I believe is that top photo. We replaced, well, both photos there on County Road double V. The top photo is of the roadway that's kind of showing some of the sandier areas after it was pulverized. There's very little base there in mainly in one section about a mile or half mile to a mile. So that's the area that they're gonna be adding a little base to before we pave. And the bottom right there is a metal box culvert structure. This is the first one that we had done in Dunn County. We've done the concrete box culverts before, but this is a newer style drainage
Actually aluminum?
structure. Yeah, it's aluminum. Yep.
I could see galvanized as.
Aluminum has a little bit longer lifespan.
I get that, yeah, I just. Look at the strength of how far that stretched, I'm like, huh. Didn't think they do that with aluminum, but.
So that is actually made in pieces, so it's a lot of bolting together. So it was like a jigsaw puzzle, and our guys had to put it together, and it took about a day to actually assemble it. There was a lot of grumbling, don't get me wrong, there was
I'm sure.
grumbling, why the heck are we doing this, and
So
But-
on your like your double V or V, you put more rocks on your sand. Do you ever have any problems of getting too high and then all of a sudden the power line's getting away?
Not this. There wouldn't be an issue up here. I suppose that could happen, but we're only adding
I
3 to
know
4
that
inches.
the
so
town of
it's
Colfax
not-
done some and there's signs all over, look above you, where the power lines are going over. Do you ever have to call the Dunn Energy to get them? That's never been a problem, huh?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. But I'm not sure who put the
It-
signs up
It
either.
definitely can. I mean, a lot of times if you're working on a project, we'll like Monarch and all those, they'll actually look up above. That's
Okay.
just their standard policy, just so they don't hit it with their boxes up when they're paving.
That could be.
A lot of times, we've done that too, where we'll put a cone out, for our truck drivers, just so they're aware that there's a overhead line. Yeah, like you said, we're paving that road today, half of it, looking at adding some more base just to bridge that gap.
And the Colfax salt shed project, couple good pictures there, but that was complete, or the structure, I guess, in the last month was completed. So this one in the bottom photo, it's a little different than the elbow galley structure. The tarp or the cover actually has poured foundations. Those round sono tubes go down 4 feet to the ground and it sits on that. And then there's the concrete T-panel on the inside just to hold the salt back, not to hold the actual structure up. So it's a little different than old galleys. But I think it turned out well, the structure. Right now we're just finishing the site work. Added a little gravel this week and fine grading and getting ready for paving in the next couple weeks. And then that project will be finished up. Then the last engineering update, we have bridge replacement design proposals. So we asked for RFQs, request for qualifications. So there's 7 bridge projects in the county. 8, but one of them is already selected. So there's 7 RFQs going out between the county and township and village projects. There'll be 7 RFQs going out. So we'll be selecting for those on September 25th. So trying to select the design engineer, those bridge designs. And all those bridges are in the bridge program. So there's funding from the state.
Yeah, so we have to pay 20% of the overall cost. So the state and the feds pay the 80%. And as you can see, 3 out of the 7 bridges are county owned and 4 are village and town owned. The way the process works is we as the county are sponsors for the projects on behalf of the town and villages. So we basically do all the dirty work for them. That means all the paperwork, all the design, approvals, working with the DNR. So we do all that on behalf of the towns and the villages. So we're the middleman between the state and the town, basically. So.
And then who has to pay the 20% of that?
The town and the village too. Yes. What's nice about their 4 bridges are 100% funded, so they don't have to pay anything. The 3 bridges that we have, I believe, 2 of them are 100. Couple of them, 2 out of the 3 are 100% funded.
So all the dirty work that you mentioned, Dustin, who pays for all that to get done? The county or the townships, the villages, the state?
So we do not charge for any of that work. We are basically helping the towns out in that situation. So. I look at it as it brings other work in potentially. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But other than that, I think that's all we had on the engineering and construction updates. Any questions? Well, we'll go into the highway building addition assessment. Obviously, the Cedar Corps performed an assessment on our current situation with our building. And obviously, we can all conclude that what they concluded with is we're undersized here based on the amount of equipment that's housed outside. A whole lot of there's not a lot of expansion potential with our current facility. Obviously, the big question is the funding. It's a very large dollar amount to pursue something like that, and I just want to present this again. Obviously, the 3 options that what they proposed. Obviously, I've put it on the back burner, just based on the amount of funding that would need to complete this work. I just wanted to get the committee's, basically input on how do we proceed with this? Do we wait? Do we put it on hold? Do we look at pursuing this further down the road? Do we do nothing with it? Like I said, right now, we wouldn't be looking at starting design. We wouldn't be doing anything. We would look at if we feel it's a necessity to do this, maybe a year or two later, maybe we can look at starting the process. Obviously, it's been presented to the county board, the needs around the entire county with facilities and, like I said, I just wanted your guys' input to see if we take this any further or we just scrap the entire idea of trying to add on or make any improvements to this facility. Like I said, as of right now, it's on hold. Obviously, we would have to have funding to do the design process, if we were to explore going down that path.
If we do something with that, geothermal at the environmental over here, is that a big expense? They told us how much it costs to have all the water and steam brought over and that kind of stuff.
You're talking just the geothermal at those two facilities?
Yeah, just over there at the environment, or the other.
The judicial center and the
Yeah.
government center. Yeah,
So it is we're projecting it to be around $11 million.
Oh, about the same as up there then.
Well, so the other part of that though is where that money comes from to pay for the debt service on that comes from the energy savings. So it's, I don't want to call it different, but it's different. Whereas if you were to borrow for a project like this, that would hit that same debt service graph that you've seen multiple times, which, as we know, is projected to drop in future years. So, in the end, yes, we would have a larger amount of debt.
But you still gotta pay for it up front, right? And you get it back
Yep.
later on.
But it's guaranteed that the solar is a guaranteed, so if we don't realize the energy savings that they promise, they pay it. So yeah, so this would kind of fit into that cycle that we.
I mean, I think at some point in the near future, we have to do something about this. I would like to go see
I agree.
St. Croix. I'd like to go see St. Croix or Barron or one of those just to kind of get an idea what that looks like, of size, and just so I get a little bit better understanding. But obviously, gonna have to do something here.
yeah, and I'm not saying that it has to be done tomorrow type of thing. I mean, we can look at 5-10 years down the road type of thing, if that's what it takes.
But sometimes you gotta start early, at least get the process going.
Yeah.
Takes a while.
I think with the volume of money that basically highway requires to operate, to serve the citizens and stuff and just everyday business, that you have to do things to protect your investments, your equipment and it's just, to me, it's just, I'm not a business person, but to me, it's smart business to do that, rather than things being put in jeopardy constantly and it ends up costing you twice as much in the long run, and so if there's a way that we can, figure this out and when's the right time, I think should be something that, in my mind, that is figured out sooner rather than later, so you get a timeline figured out and see, so you can start planning and budgeting and making decisions on some other things that might have to wait their turn or whatever, and some things are emergencies, like the energy thing or the heating and plumbing and stuff that we're talking about, but
So
this is something that is, personally, I think this is something that needs to be up in the towards the front of the line
So I guess would it help to have some type of long-term, obviously, we would have to borrow for this, county would have to borrow. Obviously, we have needs to borrow on our road infrastructure as well. I guess would it help to see like a long-term borrowing plan or how that would?
I think,
Or do we just say,
I think you've done a great job of showing us like. You had the 5-year plan thing that you showed us with some of the roads fixing, you know, which projects are coming down the road, what an estimated cost, you know, and so, yeah, I think anything like that would be.
and we have put together countywide, like a
Yep.
facilities
Yep.
investment that.
Yep. Yep, no, there's a lot of good stuff that's, you know, right there at our fingertips to see and stuff, but.
So are all them other buildings, are they all precast? Like Barron and St. Croix?
Yes,
And the city just did an addition down there that was precast too, wasn't it?
Yep.
I remember watching it go up.
and not all of their facilities are all precast, like they may have a cold storage building
Right.
that might be steel. Type of thing.
Yeah, because part of the city's shop, I think, is steel, isn't it? And the old part.
I think that's how they tied it into
Yeah.
with steel.
Yeah.
So would there be any part of the old facility being torn down? Or are you just talking about?
This
having-
facility.
Well, I mean, there's part of it that's been added on to, and that, would that be torn down, or we're just talking about a brand new? To help here,
It would be a brand new facility to increase our storage capacity of our equipment.
but we still keep, this old building, use part of it, or?
Yes.
Okay,
And that's where if you see, if we were to renovate our existing building. Well, that's where that 4.6 million is, if you see that option 2 to renovate. If we were to renovate just the building we're in today,
oh, okay,
they're saying it would take about $4.6 million to update it. That means lighting, painting, whatever, reconfiguring, how the shop's laid out, like. Literally, we would probably eliminate all of our storage here for equipment. We'd have to put it somewhere. So that's what they're saying is the cost
okay.
to do that would be about that 4.6 million. If we were to look at doing a precast facility, like a pre-engineered is steel, precast is concrete. So the pre-engineered steel, if we were to just do that 1A option, it would be approximately that $5.6 million. Just to add I believe at that time it was a 36,000 square foot facility. And then 1B was 50,000, and I believe 1C was basically an all-out brand new facility and removing the cold storage and giving that to the sheriffs, all that. But as you can see, there's the minimum cost if we were to add an exit or another building would be that $5.6 million. Minimum cost.
That would
What they're
include
estimated.
the automatic
That would
or
include the
spray
wa-
bay.
That would
Wash
include a wash bay, like having a washing facility.
We'd still be keeping this building, right?
Yes,
No matter which way you go, it's. We're keeping this and utilizing it for something.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, if we would spend $5.6 million, that would keep this building, do nothing to it, and then add a 36,000 square foot equipment storage building. And wash bay.
But if we renovated this building, and I'm just gonna look at
If we would,
one A, you know.
yeah, these would be the cheapest solutions to
Yeah.
renovate the existing building plus
and
add
on, yeah.
you're looking at, just say 11 million. Not cheap. That's why, like I said, right now, I think the best case scenario is we put it on the back burner for now. Obviously, we have other needs in the county. We can still operate the way we are. It's not like we gotta shut the operation down. But I think
But I think it's something.
we can explore this, like I said, 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever, how many years we want to look at it.
Well, I guess I would ask if and I'm hearing a general in favor from the committee, because I think as we look at our debt service payments over time, you guys have all seen that. We've always talked about trying to maintain that debt service payment. It's currently about $5.2 million is our debt service payment. That's going to be dropping, I believe
2027.
next year is like the peak, and then it starts coming down. And it starts coming down pretty considerably as we see the neighbors debt coming up and some of those other buildings. So there's a way to fit a project in there and maintain that $5.2 million.
But that's based on our current debt.
Yeah,
But
and
if we were to take a loan out for road construction projects, that would not be included in that
So
number currently.
if you remember the presentation from last year from PMA, they had talked about our level of maintaining that
Debt service.
$5.2 million was about a $4.2 million borrow on an annual basis. So we've always talked around this 3 million, but the reality is that debt service payment is dropping so fast that we would actually need to borrow more annually in order to maintain that level. But as you talk about this project, that's something where you can come down and say, you know what? Hey, we're gonna borrow 3 million annually. We're gonna do this big project, and they can spread that debt in order to balance that out. We just have to work with our people in order to do
Right.
that.
and we'll be more than happy to come next month to give you some, a presentation. We're gonna do a presentation today at the executive meeting, meeting on that debt. And we can bring that presentation to you as well, just to kind of see what that opportunity is. Where we are at with our current debt, how quickly is that being paid off, given that $5 million debt service that we already have. And when we're talking about opportunity is, as we're paying the debt, what can we borrow to maintain, up to that $5.2 million? And I think the peak, like you said, starts going in 2027.
6 or 7.
7. So that's where the opportunity comes in to say, maybe that would be a good time to bring in additional debt without raising that ceiling of 5.
And a 27 borrow doesn't have a debt service payment until 28.
28.
So
So we usually borrow late in a year.
I guess where my mind is, and you guys can tell me I'm all wet on this, but my mind is there a way to do a projected financial statement of some kind, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
and-
process of, okay, if we put this facility together, okay, and we renovated this facility and added to it with what's up there, the $10 million or $11 million. Okay, is there any way that somebody could project, like, we're gonna, by doing this, we would be saving this much money a year on our equipment, our services, our labor costs, maintenance costs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you.
Like, what do we spend in a year? You know, what's the,
To heat it.
yeah, the energy, projected energy usage, you know, just those kinds of things. And again, I get it'd be very difficult. It's a very difficult task, I'm assuming, to do that. But just kind of, even if it's like a ballpark, like, hey, we think if we did this, we could save $350,000 a year, or something like that, you know. That makes sense what I'm asking about, or am I too wishy-washy trying to stumble through what I'm really trying to get at?
I'm gonna bring up another point, which, another idea, I guess. But I know it's gotten brought up before, and part of the reason I bring it up is because of a lot of constituents, not only in my district, but in other districts, that I talk to a lot of people, are not in favor of the county running the neighbors. And if that was an option, potentially sell that, or even the land that's south of here that is not being utilized at all.
something like that to put towards it, which would make it look a lot better to a lot of the people, for the constituents that, you know, are like, holy crap, we're going in debt. How much? Well, if we offloaded something, even if it was just the land that's not being used, to put towards this would soften the blow a little bit potentially. But I bring up the neighbors because I get a lot of people that tell me, like, why is the county taking care of that?
And to the nursing home defense, if I may. Nursing home was doing pretty well up until the COVID hit. We also sat down and we built a 5-year projection model. And this is similar, next one you're gonna approach is for the highway. But in that model, we wanted to project what it will look like moving forward. So what we're projecting in 24 at this year end, they're gonna come in black. And then year after, they're gonna be coming in black as well. So I think in 2.5 years, they're gonna pay back what they owed when they were in red. So the way, part of that increase in revenue was the change in rates, in Medicare rates, significantly increased. So that's gonna bring in that additional income. Now, assume that that's gonna be steady for the next couple of years. Nursing home will sustain itself and some. The way we're kind of projecting. And like I said, when the COVID hit, there was that hiccup for 2 years or so where the general fund needed to support the nursing home.
But didn't they take the depreciation off too, so it didn't look so bad?
No, the depreciation will still remain.
I still honor them?
They took the debt service off.
That's
Yeah,
our-
they just took the debt service. The debt service now is in the county.
So yeah, it'll look, on paper, it'll look like it's in the black, but. So let's say it is in the black, well, okay, well, that's, how much is that worth then? It's worth that much more, well. To sell something, I'm just,
Yeah, and I mean, to their defense, the nursing home is not going to be in red indefinitely.
Yeah.
So that's going to turn around to
Well,
where it's sustainable,
yeah, it's going in the right direction, yes.
right? It's going,
Yeah, I mean, those are all options.
right,
It's one-time money, which is, yes, an offset how much you have to borrow in order to be able to pull off any of those projects. And board gets to make all of those decisions, so.
we can sit down with Dustin and attempt to build a 5-year model as far as what are we looking in the future, what it will cost us to sustain operations, which is a one. To say what would that debt need look like just for operation, maintaining roads, 5 years out, wages, operational. And then we can most certainly look to see what some of the savings might be if this was to happen, and what would some of those savings be?
I'm not looking to create a big burden on anybody or a group of people that, get a detailed thing put together. I think common sense probably says that the better the facilities, the more money you're gonna save in the long run, I mean, that seems to be an obvious thing, but I was just curious, how hard that would be, and I wouldn't want anybody to spend a lot of time on it, but I guess, if it's like, yeah, we could throw something together quick and, and maybe it's a bigger number than you think, and that'll help justify moving forward with things, and that's all.
So, on our.
Because that's what people want to see. I mean, that's what I'd want to see as a constituent is, what kind of bang are we getting for a buck? Basically,
Well, that's all that is over there, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
on board with that if it wasn't for.
Right.
Guarantee our energy savings,
Right,
spending $11 million on that.
right.
Yeah, but if we're gonna get it back, well, and the other thing is, on this deal.
Yep.
You know, in 10 years, it's gonna be twice that.
Exactly.
Just the price going up all the time.
Correct, so when I look at this, I look at. I'm not usually for spending more. But in this situation, if we can address our needs now and future for 16 mil and have a better building for $1.5 million more than. Going with the 10 and still not really having what we need, I would rather not do anything than do. Than do the
Piece of
thing.
the,
Well, to do it that way, we have. It's big enough for what we need for another. 5 million, you know, I mean. Because you know, when we gotta add on in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
That cost is gonna be 15 to 20,000 just to do that add-on, so.
So we can have the company that we, or what do they call us, our advisor, our municipal advisor. PMA, yeah. Kind of run numbers to say, all right, if we were to borrow $3 million on an annual basis, and we were gonna do a highway project in 2027. And then a renovation in a future year, what does that look like from that, once again, that 5.2, kind of targeting that? Does that, I guess, I would say. We could ask them to run 6 different projections based on these 6 options, but.
Which one is more likely you're entertained by?
I would compare the bottom and the top, I mean, that's what I would do, but
The 16 million and then the 11,
The worst case scenario on
the best, worst.
So the
that's what I think.
10 and the 16.
I mean, honestly, are any of you thinking, hey, if we were gonna do this? I'd rather go with one than do the full thing.
I think you gotta do the full thing, so.
I do too.
I mean, I feel more like it's all or nothing, because it's not that it's small potatoes, but the difference for what you're getting. Once you've started this, I mean, you're already into it. I mean, it's like,
Just to
Well, I
reiterate, this is the cheapest solution is to basically build a new addition. And do nothing to this building. So that's that cost. Worst case is if we renovate the existing building and add a larger facility for future expansion. That's that cost. So minimum 5.6, max 16.2.
Would there be
Is
more?
that what we would be looking at, trying to project out, or?
And that's putting new windows in here, updating that's part of the renovation.
That 4.6, runs.
The 4.6 would be.
Yeah.
And they had a model, basically, like, we would expand this office space, so our mechanics bays and all that would be shoved out to the north bay.
Yeah.
And then they would add doors and stuff, so you could have actual trucks coming in and not coming in sideways.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it at least be up front, and so we're always it's been back for our mind, but it's always there, not put off 4 or 5 years. That's what I would like to see.
yeah, I agree.
At least we got something looking at us in the face.
And I think having that long-term debt, seeing what that would project on the county.
Sure, we'll do that. We'll do the least for the 10 million and the most for 16.
Well, I'm hearing you guys are really not interested in this. Right, and this you just wanna see.
No, I think what Beata's saying is this, having the renovation and the least amount of space. Is that what you guys were thinking, is like having a 36,000 square foot facility addition and renovating this as a engineered building? And then have
Correct, I mean, that's,
a precast, the full blown gamut.
yeah, because I would rather not. I'd rather not spend the money if we're not gonna do it right. I'd rather
Yeah,
just-
and I guess that's what I heard, it's like 1A. People aren't really in favor of if you're gonna do that, is that what I'm hearing? From the,
Yeah,
we can run the numbers, but if you're not interested in it, it's not worth it.
Because we can ask if the interest, if you guys are gravitating towards more that 16. Not the 10. If you're gonna do it, let's do it all. Then we can ask them to run numbers, borrow the 11.6 first. Maybe wait a year or two and then do renovations.
Yeah, cause they could be split.
You know, you would have to do
Right
a
here,
split
like, you know.
because you'd have to,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
right.
you'd have to be able to stage over to the other.
right, but we can consult with them and ask them what would the option be by taking that 16 and split that 8 on half, borrow 8? And then borrow the 8 and depending on how quickly the progress goes with that. So we can ask if there's any rules and regulations on how, when is it borrowed and for what and when. Because I do know that if you borrow a certain amount of money needs to be spent by certain period of time.
Sure.
But those projects are not gonna happen overnight.
Correct. No, well, I think that's.
So should,
Could be awesome.
we can do 2. One would be do the 11 first, 4.6 second. The second option would be take that 16 million and do half. Fair? Okay. All right, we'll connect with them and then next time we can, Dustin, you can put that on the agenda and we'll have some presentations.
Perfect, thank you.
That'll be a reading.
I think so.
Maybe October, might be November, we don't know. Just, it'll be in the future,
In the future.
so
But
I
it's-
don't wanna give you a, that, it
No,
will be
no,
here
no,
by
no.
October.
But
Because
they've already seen this draft.
Yeah.
The municipal advisor has, so.
as far as this year, Dustin in his CIP had allocated money, $300,000 towards the, some of that project. So what the decision was made is to take that because it's ARPA money. We need to spend down that ARPA money so we don't forfeit. We've allocated that money towards another purpose, which is for the sheriff to buy the squad cars. So the ARPA money has been already accounted for, so there is no additional money left of ARPA, I should say. So we've paid up the bill, $37,000 that was owed to do this study. And we wouldn't expect any more expenses on that project for this year,
In 25.
in 24.
And I think that's the thing, as we identify 27 as maybe the year, there's an expense in 26 for the design, so that's.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to start a design even in 2025. Since the CIP, this was not included in our CIP, it had already been approved.
Can always be amended, so.
Oh, correct, but-
We're amending the CIP for the first
I
time.
think that's
ever.
why
It's like,
along the lines, I think along the lines all of us think is that, you know, that pushes it out a couple of years and what's gonna happen to the costs, even in those 2 years, you know, and so it's like, I think it's important we stay on top of the numbers and the projected numbers and the projected timeframes and so it doesn't get to that 16 all of a sudden changes into 21.
And Cedar does have a spreadsheet where they could plug these numbers in and based on inflation and it'd be very simple to project that.
It's also the longer waits, the cost might cost more
No doubt.
in 2 years, so.
But see, I don't see things coming down much.
But to put it into perspective, like I say, if we would invest $16 million to build a whole new facility to basically what we would invest would cost about 30 to 32 million is what these new facilities are costing. So Barron's, St. Croix, Eau Claire, those 30 million plus. To build a whole new facility.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could invest in 16 and right now to get a facility of their magnitude, basically. To fill our needs.
Which is also something that needs to go
That's why I
to
think
the
we,
board. I mean, like,
that's why we need to stay on top of this.
what Aaron's is. I don't remember if that was in that last. I don't know if that got presented, but I need to know what Aaron and St. Croix spent, and obviously St. Croix is kind of a different deal because they take in a lot more than we do, but still, it'd be nice to know what we're getting for that and they're getting,
What they got for that.
yeah, and for.
It's the first time I've heard those numbers and I might have missed them along the line, but that's,
I think he might have mentioned it, but I'm saying like.
That would be
You
good.
need to see it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh my,
That's good.
and it's not only the, this will not only have impact on the highway, but I believe the sheriff's office and how they're storing their vehicles. Right now, they're exposed to the elements and there's that wear and tear because of the elements. Our equipment will depreciate regardless if they're in the shed or outside. So there's that depreciation schedule, but it's the element that they're being exposed to that might add additional cost on the sun and or the winter, the salts and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. It's just how many parts you gotta put on them and stuff that, just because of the wear and tear. The depreciation is the depreciation, but then there's the extra cost of, we gotta put another battery in another vehicle because
Right, sees the.
yeah, brakes and whatever.
That's, Justin, that's the big difference between 1A and 1C, correct, is the 1A, the highway department continues to utilize the white shed.
Yes.
And 1C, we make the new cold storage larger so the sheriffs can take over the white shed.
I thought for me was that, and C is just that and a bigger building than you.
Yeah, 1B is basically we would give the storage unit or our cold storage to the sheriff's department.
1B is that,
Yeah.
C is building for future needs, so it's building beyond the number of vehicles that you currently have.
yeah,
Yeah.
Plus the sheriffs would get the,
Plus, the sheriffs would get the white ones.
gotcha. So just because 1A is cheaper though, you'd have to do something for the sheriff's office, so county as a whole, like, it looks cheaper for highway, but for the county in total, you have another project for the sheriff's office probably, right?
Yeah, we're spending over $1.2 million in equipment every year, so that's a lot of money and a lot of pressure there that you.
well, that's kind of where I was trying, what I was trying to talk, what I was trying to bring up is, just like was showing to us with the project across the street, with the two projects with the heating and upgrades there. But then all of a sudden it was like, well, this is gonna get paid for, this is gonna get paid for, this is gonna get recouped as time goes on. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's a big number right today. But in 10 years, it's gonna have little effect on my quality of living as a citizen in the county, you know what I mean? But yet, we're upgrading the facility that we're gonna get a lot more life out of. That's kind of where I see this, is that, we just talked about trucks earlier today and putting them together ourselves and those kinds of things. Those are all things that I see that we're taking on those projects to try to save money in the long run and to get things into operation. And if this building can elongate the life of our trucks another year or whatever, and we're saving $1 million a year, or $500,000 a year, well, it doesn't take very many years before it kind of pays for it, starts.
And I think that's, as you talk about where's the savings, the
Right.
question, the discretion there is, how many extra years do you get out of a vehicle? How many less repairs?
Even more than being inside, which I'm in favor of being inside. But that wash bay is gonna extend the life of.
Oh, no doubt,
yeah.
A lot.
no doubt.
Cause like I have.
Yeah, those are all
wash
part
my
of the,
truck
that's
every
all
week.
part of the,
Even in the winter, they'll come wash them. They stay so much nicer, that's all crap off.
Yeah.
So I mean, that in itself, and then being able to park them inside.
well, just think of tires that sit off the sun, that, it's just not good. So,
Okay, let's run some numbers and get those back to us, and then we can keep on discussing it, I guess.
Okay, that'll be the plan. We'll go into our highway financials. I brought the big guns in, to help better explain our financials. So I'm gonna turn it over to Beata.
Okay. take a seat, and I brought my big gun here, so hopefully he'll iron out some of those complexities in here. Don't want to bore you with a lot of the complexities in here, but for a while we've been telling the board how we've restructured our fund accounting, and to make a long story short, this is necessary so that we better keep track of who pays whom what. Okay, so in a high level highway, which we call Fund One, and we have County Road and Bridge Fund, which is Fund Two. So this first fund does the work for the county road and bridge. County-
No, that's the work for everything.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They do for everything in addition to the county road and bridge. When county road and bridge here will have all the funding sources to pay for those projects. And you see levy, ARPA, vehicle tax, and I believe there's state money there as well. And in some cases, the debt that will be borrowed to pay for, in this case here, for the county road and bridge projects, construction, maintenance, and all that.
Okay,
Yes,
when you hear county road and bridge, that is the money that Dunn County pays the highway department for county roads and bridges.
County work only.
County only.
only.
So when you hear them talking about towns and states and all of that, none of that.
That's
this
that
is
first
Step Fund Two.
right.
So this is just how much money the county puts aside for county roads and bridges.
In the past, we had it all in one. And that creates challenges for us to then identify which area, I'm gonna use the word Fund One and Fund Two, does work, and where they're sitting with money on both sides. Okay, so what you're looking at here is this county road and bridge fund. This is where all the work gets done on the county road, county bridges, county construction, and the funding that pays for it. So what happened is you see in if you look at the revenue transfer, $3 million there,
Mhm.
right? Because now when you're looking at this number, it says $5.8 million to the good. This is right. But that $3.6 million is transfer that should have happened in 23, but didn't. Okay, so it was necessary for us to make that entry to show this revenue for the audit that will happen in 24. Because right now our audit says that they don't have, this fund doesn't have enough funding. It shows that that's because we budgeted that we're gonna give them the funds from the general fund, but the entry didn't have it. So now we needed to make that up. So we moved that $3.16 million.
3.016.
Yeah, okay, 3.016, okay, $1 million to the county road and bridge fund. And this money is, if it was done right, that money would have been in 23, which pays the highway fund one. So now that we move this money so that our auditors can see, yes, that money's there. Now we're going to make another entry to say, now this county road and bridge needs to pay the highway for the work that they've done. And part of that money also pays to what he budgeted for replacing his equipment this year. So next time you see these financials, you're gonna see that 3 million disappeared. But what it did is now we move the money to Fund One, which is the highway, which will pay for the equipment that he just bought, all those trucks that he was showing you. And the remaining will be for the equipment usage that the county road and bridge paid, that is going to be needed for his replacement of equipment in 25. Following me so far?
So
So,
can I,
yeah, go ahead.
so next week, you're going to see the audit. The auditors are gonna talk and they're gonna talk about the general fund and they'll talk a little bit about our other funds. So I think they'll probably bring it up because as you look at the 2023 audit in highway, it's going to show that highway owes the general fund $1.9 million. Essentially, they're in the red, right? And then it's also going to say that we have a really good fund balance. And the problem is because we never actually gave them the $3 million. So it's sitting in the fund balance. So highways in the deficit, fund balance is in a good spot. And that's just kind of fixed making that adjustment. So as you hear that, and we'll talk about it more in when the auditors talk, to just say, don't get too enthralled in the fund balance. That's going to look like it's at 63%. It's not there because it's 3 million.
Yeah, so it's basically paying off our supposed debt that we went ahead, but
The deficit,
the deficit plus our equipment purchases.
Right.
This year.
right? So part of that money will pay for the equipment that is buying this year.
And as we talk about these two funds, this is the types of problems that were caused by having the one fund and not being able to tell the difference between what's what and who's where. So it's a good example of why we need it.
Why we need it, and in our new system, we will have two funds, Fund 1 and 2, so that we can separate that. So then you will have a clear understanding. How are we paying for the county road and bridge? What is the funding and what remains? So let's just, for the sake of this conversation, when we move this money next month, this 5.8 million will become like 2 point some million. Yeah, right. Sorry, well, he's really good at the math. I need a calculator. Right, so you're gonna look at this like, okay, well, what does that mean? Then Dustin, as we kind of looked at this, we know that expenses were down and because where the actual cost came at, right? So we have fixed costs, which is like wages. We gotta have lights on. So if there's any savings, would be really in the material.
Correct.
Right.
And the other thing, so if you look at that 2.8 million, doesn't show up this way in the budget, but we budgeted in 2024, $2.5 million in what will show up as revenue, but what that actually is saving money to pay for vehicles the next year. It's our equipment utilization. So as Brent was talking about us using city trucks, but the opposite happens too, or we do work for the state. We charge them more than the actual cost. We charge them additional money to be able to replace that in the future, right? So that money's got to sit somewhere, and that is projected to be at the end of 24, $2.5 million.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. So another example is if Dustin is doing a road construction and it costs $1 million, that this fund is going to bill the highway $1 million for doing the work. And part of the $1 million cost, you have material. Sorry,
The opposite. The highway is going to build this fund.
yes, the highway is gonna do the work. They've got the labor, they've got the machines, and they're gonna buy the materials to do a road. That's going to cost $1 million. This fund is gonna get the bill for $1 million. So the funding is here to pay for it. When it comes back to the highway that has the equipment, has the manpower. So when the money gets to them, after they pay all their wages and the fuel that they bought, they should have a surplus, which is the equipment usage. Because they've already bought it a couple of years ago, but they build into that cost so that they can use that money to replace future equipment when it's time when they deteriorate and it's time to.
Depreciation, that's what it's gonna be.
Right, so should be equivalent to that depreciation. We call it
It's self-sustained,
Funded
basically.
right. Does that help?
Perfect. Makes
Getting
perfect
better.
sense as long as you don't think about it.
Right. Right. So we always, we're presenting you with the county road and bridge fund to, not to confuse you with the first fund. I think originally when we broke them out, I presented both of these. And you're like, you know what, I'm not interested in the first fund. I just want to see where the county road and bridge, because that's where a lot of the cost is. State sends out, you know, they do state projects, they're gonna pay for those. County villages, those, they do business with that first fund. So majority of all the costs for highway is in this fund.
We have to borrow for roads, comes out of this fund, yes.
Only county bridge, county winter, county maintenance, county. There's like 4 priorities.
So just one question that, at the end there, you got $5,896,000. Is that that's not a profit, but what is it?
So, and I was in the wrong fund when I was talking about the 2.8 million.
Okay.
So essentially what that means is that the county gave Dustin, or gave the highway department, I call it Dustin, 20.
There's funds available,
Yeah,
Essentially,
essentially,
gave it to us.
Right.
But
essentially.
Still
what
in the
we-
general fund then, but it hasn't been.
It doesn't go to the general fund. It actually maintains, this is a fund in itself. So that profit at the end of the year for the county road and bridge fund does not go back into the general fund.
Stays.
It kind of does, but it's considered
Highway.
restricted or committed.
Okay.
So it doesn't fill into that unrestricted kind of number that's the one we always talk about is unrestricted fund balance. This will not be a part of that. But what that is essentially, we thought county projects in 2024 were going to be budgeted 13 million, right?
Mhm.
Dustin is projecting, I know it's on the far left side,
Yeah.
budgeted 13.5 million. He is gonna come in, he's looking right now to come in at about 2.8 million, which mean, or
less.
2.8 million less, right? So that's 2.8 million that's sitting in that fund balance. So when we talk about theoretically 2025 projects, we won't know that number till it's 2026 projects, but he's sitting on 2.5 million. So theoretically, the county can put less money into highway projects to be able to do that. The other side of that is low winter, right? You would expect this fund to have profit in a low winter because of the amount of time that had to be spent.
Sure.
When you have a heavy winter, you might have to dig into this fund a little bit more than you have done that.
So, question, can some of that money be, if I'm understanding this correctly, can some of that money, depending on how our winter goes, can some of this money be used towards the roads and stuff, like the projects that we're trying to borrow against right
Yes.
now?
Right, yes.
Yeah, if we have a mild winter, let's say we allocated $1.5 million to winter maintenance, and we only spend $500,000. Yeah, there's $1 million that could be utilized for county construction.
I mean, like, so we have this extra, which I'm guessing we'll go over this winter, history repeats itself. So then we dig into that, but let's say there's $1 million left, that can go towards that. What's that? The 7 million we need to borrow for the roads, right?
So except we don't know yet,
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah.
but yeah. So
Next projection.
yeah, so next summer, Dustin could at this time say, hey, we still have that. We had a light summer. We have the capacity to do that. I want to add another project and we already have the money. He would ask you guys and you'd say, yep, go do the J, because we cut J out of the 25 budget, but we had extra money in budget to do it.
Yep.
Go do it.
It will always stay in with the highway. It will not go into the general fund as an unassigned that can be used for anything else.
That was gonna be my question, is
It
that this,
belongs,
even if it carries over 2 years, it still stays in.
that's correct. That was,
So Dustin can start saving his
Right.
pennies for his new building.
it's an option, but it needed to,
No, I'm just saying.
yeah, a lot of work went into separating these funds because it is quite confusing.
Sure.
And with the auditors and consultants, we nailed this down. And it is necessary to have these two funds for that purpose so that we can separate them. So when an audit comes, it's not intermingled.
And money doesn't
Right.
get forgotten or overused
Right.
or under, you know.
That is correct. And we changed that funding structure for 24. So you don't see historically there because it's not apples to apples comparison. So, but moving forward, you'll see this historical data, even with our new system, you will still see that. I mean, you can still bring in 71, the other funds, so you can see how much had he spent for his equipment. You were given like $1.3 million for your equipment. There was some ARPA in there. And we can present that report that will tell you exactly what he was budgeted for his equipment and how much of that had he spent. And I think you'll have like, we projecting will be about $300,000 savings there. All right, and then there's that first fund, which is the Highway Internal Service Fund. That also could possibly have savings. That's the operating budget. So that's like the towns or the state that he would do, the materials he would buy, staff vacancies or if they're filled and when they're filled. So there would be that savings and that equipment usage, which is the big one, because that's what will save the money for future replacing the equipment that he might need that you're not going to borrow. Sorry, it's a lot to digest, but like I said, I'll be more than happy to bring Dustin the other funds just so you can see and compare, but it's really up to you. You let Dustin know and I will get him what he needs.
All right,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Thank you.
I guess that concludes my, report.
All right, thanks, Dustin. 7A, highway vouchers. Everybody got time to look them over? Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions on any of them? If not, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. 7B, 2024 bridge petitions.
I'll make that motion because we've already talked about it, right? I thought we talked about the 4 and 3 and that.
No, this is
Oh, it's
something different.
Okay. All right. Because we had talked about it a little bit.
We don't want to kill this whole thing. We can never move fast enough with these. When they die now. That's the nice thing about having wireless, but it kills your battery very quickly. So in your packet, I presented the applications that were submitted to us, from the towns. So these are bridge petitions. So these are statutorily, when a town puts in drainage structure that's 36 inches or diameter or greater, they can petition the county for 50% cost reimbursements. So this is statutorily. So we had 5 applications that were submitted to us from the towns for completed drainage work this year in 2024. So this is work that was performed in 2024. The county would levy for this dollars to be allocated to these towns next year in 2025. So it was a very significant amount increase. As you can see, historically dating back to 2026, this is actually the largest one we've had, dating back all the way down to 2016. One of the big reasons is the installation of that box culvert that the town of Lucas did, that we actually performed the work for them. As you can see, just to replace that structure was $177,000. They would get 50% of that reimbursed back to them with the special county levy. So full dollar amount for all of these, they all qualify for this bridge aid. Comes out to about $126,574.36 that the county would have to levy for next year in 2025, and then we would reimburse that to each township. I don't know if there's any questions, explanations, further detail that you would want.
And one further detail, this is one of 2 items that is not limited levy.
Correct.
So as we talk about levy limits, bridge petitions and libraries are 2 things that's not
Above and beyond
above that.
So you levy those specific townships or just across the board?
Across the board.
Okay.
Across the board.
So all taxpayers of Dunn County have to pay for it.
Okay.
Great program for the towns. Like I said, the very, very cost-effective program for them. So it helps. It's just like state with the same they would get. Yep.
So yes, we still need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion been made, second, some more discussion? Everybody understand that? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Did you guys, I didn't hear you, so.
You got all eyes.
Everybody
Okay.
approves.
Sounds good. Motion passes. Consideration of resolutions, none? Right, Dustin?
Correct?
All right. Otherwise, next meeting is October 9th, following transit. Is there any other discussion? Anything else?
Are you gonna be present or are you gonna be gallivanting around the countryside?
I will be back there on October 9th, yes. I can't guarantee you January, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right. We are officially adjourned.
Enjoy Texas.
We will try. Now I can go to breakfast. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sounds good, Randy. Thank